Well, hi. Today is Thursday, February 5th, 2026. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. Recently, a special event was held at the Iowa West Sportsplex from the Iowa West Foundation, as it was the new home of the Council Bluffs professional sports roster was unveiled, and 24 local athletes were inducted. And we're going to learn more about it from Brenda Mainwaring, the president and CEO of the Iowa West Foundation. Stopped into the studio to tell us about the event, how the selection process happened, and how new athletes will be inducted later. Because, of course, you can't get everybody all at the same time. But we have a lot of wonderful folks to honor that are from Council Bluffs, maybe still call Council Bluffs home. And that's what this event was all about. So, Brenda Mainwaring from the Iowa West Foundation joining us today on Morning Coffee. Morning Coffee brought to you by Steve Erlob, your Edward Jones financial advisor in Council Bluffs. Learn how he can help you reach your financial goals. Visit edwardjones.com for more. Edward Jones, member SIPC. After a 2-year renovation, a true downtown Council Bluffs landmark is open once again. I'm pretty familiar with it because I'm sitting in it right now. It's the Park Building, fully refreshed with new finishes, updated HVAC, modern amenities, and they managed to keep the historic charm that makes this building so special. Office spaces are now available. You can get a single one-room office, starts at just $450 a month. Full floor suites available at $15 per square foot, and lots of amenities as well. You are going to want to get a hold of Heartland Properties. Mark Handwright is your contact, and he will let you know just what is available right now. I know their space because I see it every day. Come be our neighbor. The Park Building, open and ready for your business. Back in the studios on Willow, and today we welcome special guest Brenda Mainwaring. She is the president and CEO of the Iowa West Foundation. Thank you so much in braving the clouds and a little bit of chilly dampness that we have going on today. Very grateful that you came in.
It's at least there's double digits and there's not a minus in front, so all is good today.
If it's February and we are in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and we are on the positive side of zero, we're going to take that
Absolutely.
as a win.
Yep.
You had an event recently
We did.
that showcased and highlighted some of the achievements from local people who made the professional level of sports. And this was a really cool event.
It was a really cool event. We'll start there and then we'll kind of talk about how we got there.
Yeah.
But so we had an event to recognize the athletes in Council Bluffs who had been drafted into a professional sports league or had had an individual professional sports experience, and also those who competed in the Olympics. We started this project, and the list of really high achievers in athletics in Council Bluffs and Pottawatomie County is incredible. And so we had to figure out, how do we draw a line around, how do we put a box around who is going to get recognized in a way that is pretty clear. It's not a subjective viewpoint. And so we said, if you got drafted into a professional sports league, if you competed in the Olympics, your face and that achievement should be on the wall. And so we have 24 athletes.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them were recognized for individual achievement. We had jockey Terry Thompson, who raced, he's been racing for a couple of decades, never rode a horse before he graduated from high school. I won't say that. He was not any sort of horseman prior to graduating from high school. Then he went to Kentucky, and it's history from there. But he rode in the Triple Crown. And then, of course, Ron Stander. And if you have any long-standing connection to Council Bluffs, you have heard the name Ron Stander. Who competed at the world boxing level. And so those 2 were the individual achievements. We know we missed some. So we're going to do this more. We're going to do it again. But the event itself, who do you invite, right? And so we were sensitive to the fact, first of all, this first time we did it. So, let's make sure that we don't kind of outshoot our coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided we're going to keep it relatively small, and we wanted to be sensitive to the athletes and their privacy. And so we invited the athletes and their friends and family, no limit. They could invite whomever they wanted. And then we wanted high school athletes there from the local high schools, because the whole point of this is not only to tell the stories of the athletes who have succeeded at national, international levels, but to show the path to the students who are athletes right now and the levels that of achievement that went ahead of them.
I also think that I was a sportscaster for a long time, and I have seen young people starting as a freshman in high school and go all the way up, some making all the way to the pros, and then past that, and what is past their professional sports career. And that is what impresses me about what sports can do. And as I see the young people that are there, they can see, yeah, they had the success on the field or on the court or on the mat or wherever, but then that success continues.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what really impresses me about it.
I'm not going to get all the names, but one of the athletes baseball, who played in major leagues, and he is now. If I try to get into details, I'm going to get it wrong. So I'm just going to say
Yeah.
he is now the head of orthopedic surgery at Notre Dame. We have, other athletes who have been recognized in like Marty Wolliver is a nationally recognized. He's in the Recruiters Hall of Fame for recruiting, I think, many of the pitchers for, I think it was, I don't remember which team, who won the World Series. So the level of achievement that's gone on, whether or not you're a player or a coach or supporting the athletes, is remarkable.
I also think that, as you said, you have to shut it off somewhere, and there's a lot of people that are deserving that we'll get to later, but that's not an unusual problem. I mean, Bill Belichick didn't make a first ballot Hall of Fame. How is that even possible? But yet he didn't. So there has to be. 24 is a lot.
24 is a lot.
Yeah,
and
we
together.
specifically
Specifically are not calling it a Hall of Fame, because a Hall of Fame is anybody who has achieved something remarkable in their sports. And there's too many, and it becomes a subjective. You get nominated to the NFL Hall of Fame, to the Baseball Hall of Fame, because of your achievements. And so in trying to say, it is not for Iowa West to decide who deserves recognition, but we're the ones who had the wall. And we're the ones who had I shopped this around to all sorts of folks. I'm a Council Bluffs native, born and raised, have boomeranged a couple of times. Shortly after I came back the last time, Max Duggan was playing for TCU in the NCAA championship. And to watch this town, didn't matter if he was LCA, LTJ, he was LC, of course, but the whole town rallied around the fact that one of our own is competing at the national level. ESPN came here to Council Bluffs. We had the towers lit in TCU colors. We do all this stuff as a community to say, this is one of us, and we're going to celebrate him and his achievement. So I was having a lunch with Matt Johnson down at Barley's Bar, and we were talking about how cool this was and what he was doing. And then we started talking about Iowa Western and the amazing history of Iowa Western's national championships.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And then, there's all these other athletes, and it's kind of like, why are we not talking about these more? We get all rally around Max Duggan, which is amazing, but we should be talking as a community about these achievements on a regular basis. And so that was where the germ of the idea started.
Well, I think too that it just requires somebody to start the conversation. We've gotten too used to not talking about these things. I was having this conversation with somebody last week about the success that Iowa Western has had, not just in football, just across the board. And even after winning this latest national championship, we really didn't talk about it very much. And other communities with colleges do. And I would love to see that changed, but it does take someone starting the conversation. And that's where I think this wall helps.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my goal. We were a little stealthy about it. I talked to a whole bunch of folks about, hey, what do you think? Who wants to do this? How should it be done? And, who's on it? And I got a lot of good ideas. And then we kind of tapped into social media, because there is a lot of conversation that happens on social media about this person did that thing, and here's a professional. Did you know that this story about this guy? And so we were watching those. Ultimately, we drew boundaries, and we put it up at the Iowa West Fieldhouse, and we reserved space for it, and we were able to do a really great event. What I hope happens is that every one of the high schools goes back and says, look at all the state champions we have. Look at all the college champions we have. And they put up in their gymnasium
Mhm.
a roster of their champions. That Iowa Western, I'm sure they already have all the banners hanging in the gym, but to really start talking about this town. I asked some folks who were at the event. It's like, is it really? Is Council Bluffs? Is this achievement really that different than could you go someplace else? And the consensus is no. There is no place else that you could find this level of professional athletic achievement, college, national, international achievement in sports.
And it's just kind of been flying under the radar for a long time.
It has
And,
been.
because we can take a look around and we can see, some of the standout athletes. John Lieber had a long career in Major League Baseball. We look at what George Ivanov has accomplished with the best wrestler. And, of course, Max Duggan. And as you said, the entire town rallying behind that. And what I really loved when that happened was that it ceased to be, just like you said, it wasn't about Lewis Central, St. Albert, TJ, AL. It wasn't about that anymore. And that is what I want for this town. Keep the rivalries, but celebrate each other
Yeah.
as they continue on. And that's what we need. We need more community feel, and we are getting there. But it takes effort, and it takes different things like this to showcase. It's okay to say we're good. It's okay to say we are proud of what's happening here.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. And, so we invited all of the athletes. Well, obviously some of them have passed on, but all the living athletes we invited to come and participate and share their stories. And we had 9 of the athletes who were able to join us, which is terrific. They got up and they shared their stories. And I think almost every one of them used the word grit, determination. Um, Council Bluffs is a blue collar town. When we have gone out, Iowa West has gone out to ask, what do we think about ourselves? That grit, determination, blue collar, hardworking, small town, all those things are what we hear over and over and over again. And so what we heard from those, it was all gentlemen, but what we heard from those athletes who came back from having, in some cases, traveled the world, is this place is special. This is where I learned what grit and determination is about. This is where my family and my friends and my school rallied around me, my community. So many of them talked about going to Roberts Park, and they would just kind of, you just see this parade of kids headed towards Roberts Park with their baseball gloves, and they were going to do, it was a community that came together that said, this is important, and we're going to make sure that it happens. And the other thing we heard over and over again is the coaches. There were 2 different Little League teams about 2 decades apart, each of which had 3 professional players.
Wow.
Unbelievable. 3 of them went to the Yankees in the 70s, and then the other 3 went to various places. But that's amazing. Who is that coach? And we have some of those same coaches today that are teaching these athletes that are there's a certain amount of athletic skill that you do not teach, but you recognize it and you amplify it and you make space and you help those athletes understand what it takes to be successful. And there's something that we do here in Council Bluffs that is different than what other people do.
You brought up the Roberts Park and everybody going there. Last year, I did a series on the show about different parks around town. So I went around all the parks, took video, took pictures, and it was early evening that I was going around and doing this. And at every single one of those parks, there was people. Some of them had those. There was what looked to be about a 4-year-old girls' t-ball game going on at one of the parks. There was games going on at different places. Sometimes it was just families having a picnic. But every single stop that I made, there was people there. And again, we overlook all of that we have to offer to the families and the successes that we have that we just, let's not talk about it. No, let's talk about it. As a matter of fact, how about we yell it once or twice?
Absolutely. These parents who are carting kids around to elite teams, God bless them. It's expensive. It's
Yep.
a lot of hard work. But the analogy I want to make is it's almost like Council Bluffs figured that out 50 years ago. You build this community around the success of your kids and the athletes, and you create a circumstance where they can excel and they're encouraged to do that and they're supported in that. And you create some really phenomenal athletes and some really phenomenal human beings.
Yeah, that's when I take a look at. I remember I got a chance to interview my high school basketball coach after I got into radio, and I told him that I can look back on these teams that you coached, and across the board, the success that the athletes that were on that team, only a couple went on to college, but what they achieved in the professional world. And it can teach so much along those lines with that. And those coaches that you're talking about, these are life skills they're teaching. It's not just about putting a round bat on a round ball. There's a lot more to it than that. And we're seeing the results of that here. And you talk about this being a blue collar town. I don't see it as blue collar and white collar being opposite. Blue collar is more of it's a type of work ethic that you show up, you're there, people can depend on you. They know that what you say is what you're going to deliver. That's what we provide here.
That's really important. Blue collar, I said we heard it a lot. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It is a point of pride. It is a way of saying we here in Council Bluffs in Potawatomi County understand what you have to do to be successful in your community, and in your life, and we just kind of nose to the grindstone and we get it done. And there is a lot of pride in that fact. So when I say blue collar, I mean it as a compliment.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to, for years and years and years, we've been trying to figure out how do we talk about our pride in Council Bluffs, and how do we talk about ourselves, and we should talk about ourselves to others in the same way that we talk about ourselves amongst our neighbors and friends, because we love where we live. We really do. Does it have problems? Of course it has problems. The other amazing thing that we learned from this sports event, the unveiling the pictures on the wall, it is still possible to have an event that is 100% positive on social media. I was not aware that was a possible thing. So that is just like amazing. But even the people who said, you missed so-and-so, or why did you not do that, so-and-so, they started with, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is long overdue. This is fabulous. It was all positive, which tells me that when we find the right conversation, when we find the right story to tell, it resonates. It is right. It is something that we can all say that. And so one of the things that we want to do at Iowa West Foundation, you've talked to Chris LaFurla at the chamber, the city is on board, the county is on board. One of the things that we have to do is find those stories. What is it that resonates with all of us that we can say this is something we are uniformly proud of?
And you're preaching to the choir here, because this is exactly what I have wanted this show and the other work that we do here to be. Is, it goes back, I talk about it all the time, the old Native American analogy is what wolf are you feeding? And yes, negative exists here. Nobody's saying to ignore it, work on it. But if you ignore the positive just because the negative exists, then that's all you see. And then that's what gets fed, and that's what grows. Look for the positive things that are happening here. And I firmly believe that the more bright of a light you shine on the positive, the less comfortable the negative is being around it. I believe that to my core. And I'm seeing it happen. I see it with the event that you had, with some of the things that we're seeing with, Randy Fontaine's one of my favorite guys in town, and what he's doing with the homeless population, and all of the different things that are going on. There's so many positive things. So let's celebrate them. It's okay to celebrate them.
Absolutely. And Council Bluffs is big enough and small enough to do that. We're big enough to have the resources that are necessary. Some of the rural communities with a few thousand folks and essentially zero tax base, they can't necessarily put resources into some of these activities. We're big enough to do that, and we're small enough that I'm constantly amazed at how small this town actually is.
Yeah.
You know, something you've said to so-and-so comes back to you from a
Right.
different direction. Like, how do you even know each other? So, but they do. We do. And so we're small enough to care about somebody within the equation matters to me, and I'm going to make a point of doing the right thing. And so as a town of 60,000, we can make those kinds of things happen.
I am still looking for the right person to talk to. Maybe you're it, about getting a sign put up on the edge of town that says Council Bluffs, the biggest small town in Iowa. I would love to see that, because I learned this a long time ago with different things that I've done here. We act like a small town. We don't act like a community of 60,000 people.
We do not.
And that is a positive thing. And it keeps the community feel. And it makes it possible for small businesses to succeed here. And a lot of the smaller restaurants that are independently owned have a very loyal base because of the fact that we act like a small town in the community.
Now let's talk about the downside of that. People hang around here and age here, and we are an aging and declining in population. And that is a huge problem. So, biggest small town in Iowa, absolutely. The small town feel, the way we connect with each other, the way we care about each other, those are the things that matter to this community. We have to protect that and at the same time advertise it as a way to tell people, if you want this feeling, if you want, we're not Mayberry, but for the people who get that reference.
I got it.
I know.
I have this colored
people
hair.
of a
I got
certain
it.
age. But, we are not perfect, but we offer something that is rare. And we have got to start telling that story, because while we, there is a certain perspective that you want to kind of protect that, and outsiders will put it at risk, that sense of hometown feel. If we don't grow, we will lose our community, because we cannot, as you've talked to others, you've seen at some of our events, the declining, the population pyramid, if you look at the bottom, if the 5-year-olds if there's not enough in that bottom of the pyramid to support the pyramid at the top, those are pretty wobbly population pyramids. They fall over, they fail. And so we love the fact that we're the biggest small town in Iowa. We, and I'm talking about the community, want to protect that. What we also have to do is figure out how to use that to encourage others to enjoy the same kind of lifestyle that we have, that we treasure.
100% agree. And I think that it's been my experience that for anyone who wants to be here, this community, and just like the rest of the communities around Southwest Iowa, very welcoming if you want to be here. But if you're dipping a toe in and running away with the money or whatever, people tend to sniff that out. So there is a little bit of being careful with that. But at the same time, it's been my experience that, yes, this community is welcoming, because I've seen people come in very new and plug themselves in and have a lot of success, because we want that. We just need more of it.
Absolutely. One of the things that Iowa West is trying to do this year, we're working very closely with City County Chamber on these issues of attraction and retention. Don't love that phrase, but that's what everybody calls it.
Right.
We are listening to the same voices over and over again, because that's easy. We do certain things. We've always done certain things. It is in the forum where people who know us know to look for us. Our challenge this year, and it is a steep hill, is to try to figure out, how do we reach out to other voices? And so one of the things that is a huge success from this sports wall is we reached a different audience. We've got the Iowa West Fieldhouse, the Iowa Soccerplex, and those have attracted a certain audience of parents and kids and student athletes and those kinds of folks. What we hadn't really reached into was that huge subculture in Council Bluffs that just goes to the bar to talk about John Lieber or Brian O'Connor or, fill in the blank. There's all these people, Max Duggan, these people who appreciate the community because of that depth of commitment to their team, to their high school, to whoever it is. That's exactly that reaching into a different audience base and understanding what it is that they want is something we, Iowa West, are going to work on this year. I'm not quite sure how, but we're gonna work on that on an engagement standpoint. And then we're going to work really closely with the chamber to figure out how do we take what we learn from all of those populations in Council Bluffs and convert it into a tool, probably some sort of web-based tool that will help with attraction and retention. So there is a plan for how we're moving things forward. You and I talked last right after our October Voices and Visions event, which is where we talked about here's what we learned in the survey, here's what we learned from the focus groups. Tell us if you're in this room, what you think. Are we on the right track? Got a lot of information out of that. I am deeply opposed to leaving things sitting on the shelf. So what are we going to do with that information? Working, as we have from the outset, very closely with the chamber to say, okay, here's what we know. Here's where we have gaps. Here's what we want to do with it. And so we have a very clear plan. We have a beginning and we have an end, and we have a lot of work to fill in the middle. But that's what we're planning to do this year.
That's where the real work is, though. That's the hard part. Getting the information at the beginning took a while, and a lot of great folks involved with that. We know where we want to go. Somebody needs to draw the map.
Yeah,
and that's the stage where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I'm gonna amend your somebody needs to draw the map.
Okay.
The community needs to draw the map. Somebody has to make sure that it's moving forward. Mm-hmm. Decisions by committee are never all that productive, but we need to make sure that as we move forward, all of the right people are sitting at the table with us. I've mentioned several times, city, county, chamber, the schools need to be there. Iowa Western needs to be there. How do we collectively, what are the needs and interests of each of those entities? Where do they overlap, where we can work together? And how can we take, what we learn together? Here's our message about our community. And Iowa Western's going to use it to recruit students this way. And, the high schools are going to use it to recruit teachers that way. And so everybody has their own things that they need to use with this tool. But we have to come together to develop the treasure map.
And not get lost in the mountain that there is to do and just take it. Yeah, it is, but these things are surmountable.
Eating the elephant one bite at a time.
One bite at a, and just trusting the process.
Yeah.
As you go along. And yeah, I'm 100% on board with this. When I sat, and we talked about it before, when I sat in that Voices and Vision event and I heard what all of the speakers, including yourself, were saying, I was like, yes. and I talked to other people coming out, and they were saying, wow, that was unexpected. It was not what I was expecting going. I don't know what I was, but it wasn't that.
I'm not that much of a cheerleader. I'm kind of like, hey, let's get to work, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was just it was so encouraging to see that, yeah, people get it. We just need to start talking. And that's going to be a big part of it, is getting this community to say, it's okay to feel good about it.
Yeah.
And,
right.
And I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
I think we're getting there. And because I see the new businesses coming to town, I see the amount of ribbon cuttings that are happening all the time, and people wanting to invest in what's going on here and believing that they have a future going down that road. So it's happening. We just need to keep feeding it and keep that train moving.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for your willingness to come in and talk to us about it. Welcome here anytime.
Thanks.
I'd love to have you back again.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much, Brenda.
Thanks.
If you have a leak, a clogged drain, or if you're planning a big remodel, Waldstein Plumbing in Council Bluffs has you covered with fast, reliable service and expert craftsmanship, handling everything from small repairs to major installations. They're locally owned and trusted and take pride in doing the job right the first time. So residential or commercial, big or small, when plumbing problems strike, call Waldstein Plumbing. Visit them online at waldsteinplumbing.com. Good morning. Start with peace of mind, and at Miners Healthcare, they provide professional in-home support where it matters most, helping individuals maintain comfort, dignity, and independence in their daily lives. Their experienced nursing team focuses on personalized care, clear communication, and supporting families through every step of the process. It's healthcare built on trust, compassion, and real relationships. Go online to learn more, minershealthcare.com. And technology should work for you, not against you. At ThinkSpace IT, they provide expert IT solutions to keep your business running smoothly and securely. From cybersecurity and cloud services to network management and tech support, they simplify IT so you can focus on what matters most. Stay protected, stay connected, stay ahead. Visit ThinkSpaceIT.com. Thank you again, Brenda Mainwaring from Iowa West Foundation, President and CEO, for joining us on today's show. And we'll have Brenda back again very soon to give us more updates on everything that's happening at the Iowa West Foundation. That's going to wrap up today's show. My name's Todd Studer. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.